This is a live presentation of the Titan Upload Network.
The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and thank you for joining us on this Monday evening. And joining us, as always, is also my co-host, Lee Hillis of the 615 Podcast. Lee, fantastic seeing you here on this Monday.
Again.
Well, Lee, initially we had a good show planned, and
Yes.
we had all our notes planned. So unfortunately, it was a huge news drop for us, so we had to scrap just about everything and start from scratch.
Yes, we did. But there's stories dropping all the time.
And that's just the best part about free agency getting started, and a lot of tires getting kicked, and we've got so much to talk about. But first,
And of course, the rumor mill has gotten the wheels turning.
That wheel has definitely been turning all day, and not on a positive aspect.
Since yesterday.
So, starting out, we would have to talk about just everything that's been going down in the last 24 hours, but we will definitely get to that when we get to our top news segment. But first, we've got a very special guest joining us tonight. We call him the bad boy of the Titan Upload Network. He is the terrible powerhouse that is Titans Rossi on Twitter. Rossi, welcome to the show.
Terrible Titans Rossi. That should be the new name, right?
Well, Rossi, they try to grill you, but you bring the beef and you just tell them bring it. So,
hey man, you can't keep a good man down, as they say. You know what I mean? So,
ain't that the truth?
It's a lot of fun, man. You know, I tell people all the time, Twitter is not real. It's a place to post stuff and to have fun. If you take it too seriously, then you got issues. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It is a way to get your stuff out there, and I'm very grateful for Twitter in that aspect. But it's a lot of fun, man. We've gained quite a few followers on there, and I would say there's 90% of the people support us and what I do and what we do. You just got a few here and there that like to stir the pot, but it is what it is.
Yep.
Well, Rossi, they try to stir your pot, but believe me, you bring some thickness there, and that's a lot to try and stir on you, my friend. So they won't do it so easily. But
well, I appreciate that.
But guys, we have had a lot going on with the network. It's really almost our 1 week anniversary coming up. So, Rossi, I mean, you've already got a big show planned with Corey Curtis this upcoming Wednesday. So before we get started, just want to let everybody know what's going to be going down.
Yes, super excited about that. Now, Corey has been on my channel 3 times in the past, 3 to 4 months, and he's kind of become, a buddy of mine, kind of, and so he's been so gracious with his time. Just whenever I ask him, he's just so cool about it. And so we're gonna do it live from the network channel, which I'm excited about. Which obviously that has a lot more subscribers than my individual channel. So expecting a pretty big crowd, and Titans fans, they bring the heat. That they just simply bring the heat all the time in our shows, and excited for that. And Corey, we're going to be talking about basically what we're going to talk about tonight too, but I think Corey's going to have a lot of insight to it that maybe we don't have, just because of his status with WKRN and him working with the team and So it'll be interesting to get all his thoughts and opinions on it.
And no doubt you're going to be having a really good show that Wednesday. So make sure you tune in to the Titan Upload Network. Check out the Rossi Report. Rossi's going to bring it. We know he's got a good show lined up. Can't wait for it. Get into the chat real quick. We've got a celeb in the building. Titan Anderson is in the Power Hour chat. Good seeing you, buddy. And as they say, congratulations. So thank you very much as well. And shout out to our buddy Lou Man, always coming in bringing some good insight. Really excited to see what you bring to the table, Lou Man. So we got some power. We got some power players tonight. So come prepared. All right, guys, let's not waste a minute any time trying to get this thing set up. We've got some top news to get to and a lot to talk about. So I'm Michael Bishop of the Power Hour. This is my co-host Lee Hillis. Let's get into it with our top news. And as we have right now, we had a breaking story earlier, not even a couple hours ago, as it seems Geno Smith will be staying with the Seattle Seahawks, signing a 3-year extension for $105 million, potentially making up to $50 million this year. So, Rossi, I'll start with you. Geno Smith, undoubtedly and undeservedly, being named the Comeback Player of the Year. Was this a good fit long term for the Seattle Seahawks going forward?
I think, where they're at as a franchise, probably so. I mean, he played very well this season. I think he kind of dropped off towards the latter half of the season, maybe, but I'd have to look at his stats again. But I mean, good for him. Good for him. He got paid, which he got paid early on too. Because he was a bust, but he really got paid this time around. And, I'm happy for anybody who's that type of, I don't know with him if it was necessarily an underdog story, but I know with him, I've seen some stuff on him where he was uncoachable early on in his career. They didn't like him in the locker room. I think he had kind of had a come to Jesus, so to speak, maybe a couple seasons ago. From what I remember, some player had kind of talked some sense into him. That's what I remember reading. And he kind of started changing his attitude about, how he listened and how he studied and stuff. And it seems to be paying off. I mean, in $105 million.
And Lee, the numbers he put up this season were impressive. 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 4,282 yards. So is this more of a tribute to Geno Smith fitting into a system that showcases his talent better, or is Pete Carroll just really an offensive-minded genius under that defensive guru status?
Well, there's another stat that you did not mention. He had a completion rate of 69.8.
Very good.
And when you have a completion rate nearing 70%, you're throwing the ball in a very tight spot and it's being caught. And it also helps that he has weapons, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, who's tied in there. And then you have Kenneth Walker in the backfield. You have weapons around him. And back to the question, is Pete Carroll a quarterback genius to say with a defensive prowess? Yes. Look at what he did with Russ in his first couple of years there.
And another point I want to make, especially with Pete Carroll, his system definitely just fine-tunes his quarterback and gets their skill set to where he needs them to perform at a high-octane level. So I think going into next season, my biggest question, and I'll give this one to you, Rossi, what do the Seahawks need to do to help Geno Smith continue this trend of success? Do they need to invest in the offensive line, or could there potentially be a weapon that they might be looking at in the draft?
I mean, as far as you look at their wide receivers, Metcalf and Lockett, I don't know their contract situations as far as that goes. I mean, it's amazing that they've been able to keep both of those players. They had Noah Fant. He was one of the guys that came over from Denver. He was decent. I don't know. He didn't do a whole lot, but he was decent, for them. Kenneth Walker. I mean, on offense, they look pretty good. Their offensive line, I don't know how well their offensive line is, to be honest. I just don't know much about them in general. What did they finish? What was their record?
That is a good question.
I believe it was, from what I'm looking up here, they were 9-8. They made the play. But yeah, I mean, obviously they could probably improve on defense, I would imagine, to get better. I just don't know a whole lot about their whole things like that.
And Lee, to finish off with you, we already get the sense the Seattle Seahawks will definitely have a lot to look forward to this upcoming season. You have to look at the other teams in the NFC West that you see this condition that they're in. Arizona is potentially going to be without their star quarterback for about at least half the season. Los Angeles has a lot of questions going forward, and really the only contender in that division right now is San Francisco. So could we potentially see Seattle give San Francisco some trouble, especially with the extra draft assets that they'll be having this year to build onto a roster now that they've locked in their quarterback for the next 3 years?
Yeah. San Francisco will definitely have a problem with Seattle. And of course, as Rossi was saying, and even you, my Power, they have a lot of draft capital. They're going to use it to their advantage, and they're going to probably draft pretty well.
And Geno Smith locked in for the next 3 years, $105 million. The Seattle Seahawks have found their quarterback of the future, at least for a little while. But they're not the only team that's locked in their quarterback. As we found out earlier this morning, it appears the Saints, coming out of nowhere, snatching Derek Carr up and potentially have found their next guy for 4 years, $150 million contract with about $100 million guaranteed. So, Lee, is this a good fit for the Saints and for Derek Carr?
Well, Derek Carr to the Big Easy, it's an easy choice to make. Who would you rather have, Derek Carr or Jameis Winston? I would take Derek Carr over Jameis Winston any day, even over Taysom Hill.
And Rossi, I'll give you this next question. He's definitely not going to a team that's low on talent. You have Alvin Kamara. You potentially have Michael Thomas back while they're trying to rework his deal. And even more so, they can continue to add pieces on through the draft. But it's not a bad situation for Derek Carr to be going in. Your thoughts?
No, it's not at all. And I think, if you look at the way Arizona has run their offense, typically, I think he fits in well there. I know, some of those guys they got Olave, who was awesome this past season. Somebody that, last season a lot of Titans fans were wanting. And he's been great. I mean, he had over 1,000 yards. Then you got Juwan Johnson, I think's his name. They need a guy from Tennessee.
Jennings.
Yeah. Oh no, Juwan Johnson's the tight end. Yeah, that's who it is. But yeah, I mean, it looks like they could use some more help on the offensive side for sure. And I talked about this on the network video this morning. Derek Carr has had a lot of talent around him throughout the years in Oakland. He's had some years where maybe not so much, but for the majority of the time that he's been in Oakland, he's had a lot of talent around. Darren Waller, Obviously Devontae Adams this year, but even if you go back, and I don't know, with Carr, it's like he throws a lot of yards. I mean, that's kind of, but to me, that's kind of it. Like I would really like to see him step into a role where he really just steps up and becomes that next level. And I kind of attribute it to like Ryan Tannehill with the Titans. You had Tannehill in Miami, kind of average quarterback in Miami, a little bit above average. I'd say above average in Miami, a little bit, and then he comes to Tennessee, new environment, and he plays lights out for a couple seasons in a row. I could see Derek Carr kind of following that same suit, you know. And I hope he does for his own sake, and for the Saints. They're not in the AFC. I don't have any beef with the Saints, but I think that's what I would like to see him do, is kind of just step up and be the leader he could be. But what's crazy about him too, and I'll shut up, is he's had a lot of fourth quarter comebacks too. Like he's like one of the best at it. And if you look at his stats as far as like games like that and stuff like that, it's kind of surprising, to be honest. You wouldn't ever think, considering the team he's been on.
So what you're saying is that Derek Carr could have like a resurgence to his career.
Yeah, I think so.
And I'll pose this question for you, Lee. The Jets were clearly the favorite to land him, and unfortunately that fell through. So now the big question is, where do the Jets go from here?
So I'm throwing out two names. One of them is on the list. Actually, there's three names that were under Derek Carr. Aaron Rodgers, which it sounds like he's probably going to stay in Green Bay one more season.
Mm-hmm.
You now have Jimmy G. And, of course, the dark horse for me, Ryan Tannehill.
So out of those three, which one do you think fits the Jets situation the best? Where they probably wouldn't have to give up a lot of assets, especially now that they're in the position to where they have to trade for a quarterback.
After, of course, Titans fans will probably crucify me for this. I'm going to say Ryan Tannehill, because let's go back to the Combine interview with Rand Carthon. He said that Ryan Tannehill is under contract. He is a Titan, and he will be a Titan. The only reason he would say that is to keep teams intrigued to know, hey, Tannehill, if he was to say, oh, Tannehill, we're gonna release him, nobody would want him. They would wait till he hits the market. But now that you hear that Tannehill is under contract, he will be a Tennessee Titan, and he is a Titan. That's going to have teams coming and saying, okay, what would you want for Ryan? So I'm saying Ryan Tannehill to the New York Jets.
Rossi, your rebuttal.
Yeah, I mean, I'd see your point there, Lee, and I think that, a team like the Jets, Ryan Tannehill would be successful with, just because based on their offense that they have now and the weapons that they have. I mean, they have Wilson, Breece Hall, I mean, before he got hurt, he was doing really well. Tyler Conklin, you got Elijah Moore still there, Corey Davis. They got some talent over there for the Jets, and they have a decent offensive line, so I think it's a team that Ryan Tannehill could probably do pretty well in. Now, I did send a direct message to New York Jets Matt today, and he's been one of my we've been going back and forth for a month ever since we released the news about the draft picks and Tannehill trade and all that. He tags me all the time, and I have Jets fans attacking me every other day for something, but they were sold on Carr just going there. I mean, future Hall of Famer Derek Carr for the Jets. They were promising him everything in the kitchen sink, and that didn't happen. Now they're hanging their hat on Aaron Rodgers, which I don't think Rodgers is going anywhere. Just personally, I don't think he's going anywhere. But I did send him a message and said, "Hey, what if you guys don't get Rodgers? What now?" And he gave me Lamar Jackson. We could trade for Lamar Jackson. Jimmy G is an option, and it was somebody else too he had mentioned, but I mean, if you're going to go, if the Titans are looking to trade Ryan Tannehill, if that's what they're going to do, and the Jets cannot get Aaron Rodgers and they cannot get Lamar Jackson, and it comes down to Jimmy G or Ryan Tannehill, I'm taking Ryan Tannehill all day long if I'm the Jets. That's just me. I think it would be a good move for him. They wouldn't have to give up a whole lot for him. Things have kind of changed now. I mean, they might have to give up a first for Tannehill. Who knows? But I don't know. We'll see what happens with all that.
And I think out of all the quarterbacks that we've listed, Tannehill definitely seems like the most affordable one for the Jets if they go that route. Because right now, they're basically in a position where they're trying to win now. They're basically one game away from punching their ticket to the playoffs. So the pieces are there. It's just trying to put them together and get the right guy in place. Garoppolo, at this point right now, San Francisco is probably going to want more, especially not knowing what Brock Purdy's situation is going to be. You look at Aaron Rodgers potentially coming back to Green Bay, or he could even retire if he wants to. Green Bay is in the driver's seat, clearly, for whatever decision needs to be made. So the Tannehill situation is going to be intriguing moving forward. Will they move on it? Never say never. But at this point right now, at least the Saints can say they've locked in their quarterback for the future, and Derek Carr is hoping for that career resurgence if it is in his future. Hitting up our next story, it appears that not all is well in the Chiefs' kingdom as Frank Clark is potentially on his way out to be released, where the Chiefs and Clark's representatives could not come to an agreement to a new long-term deal. So Rossi, Frank Clark very much looks to be in high demand if this all goes through and when this goes through. So what do you think Clark would fetch out for a market for a very, very talented defender?
I mean, he's going to be expensive. I don't know, what type of money, he's what price is going to be on him. I would have to go and kind of look at the market value of a guy like that. He is 29 years old. Obviously, he's still a very high level player. He's a leader in the locker room and things like that. So I honestly, preferably, I never liked Frank Clark. Just personally, just I don't know, his personality in those Chiefs press conferences, like after they had beat us and all that stuff a few years back, he kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But he is a great player. He's going to cost a lot of money. The Titans have so much going on. I don't think we would go after him, but you never know. I mean, all this stuff with Simmons and everything else, you never know what could happen. I mean, Frank's obviously not necessarily the position Simmons is, but he is a heck of a player, and if you could get him on a more of a friendly deal, it'd be something to look at.
And going into the final year of his deal, that was going to be about a $28.6 million cap hit for the Chiefs, not to mention with a $20 million base salary. So any team looking to sign Frank Clark is definitely going to have to pull out their checkbook at this point. So, Lee, what teams do you think would be the best fit financially and scheme wise for Frank Clark?
Well, going back to what Rossi was saying, he is we'll get to this a little bit later about Jeff. It depends on what happens. Could he come to Tennessee? Could I see him in Tennessee? Yes, if we do not get Jeff Simmons back. Another team that would be probably needy for a defensive end. I hate to say it, probably Indianapolis, Tampa Bay, or as Luman says, Denver, possibly. Go get revenge on Kansas City.
Titans Fox brings up the Patriots, which he would be a good fit for their scheme.
He would be, definitely.
So he's definitely.
But of course, the reason I said Tennessee, let's just say we keep Jeff, and we, of course, reports have come out the Titans are going to release Bud Dupree. Line him up across from Harold Landry.
And I don't mind trying to picture that because realistically, that's a defensive front that's going to give a lot of offensive nightmares. But cap-wise, where would Tennessee find that kind of extra money at that point without at least cutting a few significant players loose?
Well, of course, I've played around with Spot Track just a little bit. And let's just say the Titans were to trade away Ryan Tannehill. They'd be saving about $16 million.
To invest in the defense.
You could do that. Beef up what's worked. As I said, beef up what's worked, and defense has been the strongest point of this of this team, and then use some of the other money there to work on offensive line. Maybe look at like skill positions like corner, which we'll hit on in the second segment of the show.
And it'd be interesting to see if the Titans would just invest fully in the defense this upcoming offseason, because it would simply tell me they're trying to get the defense in place for long-term success and then build the offense for the next couple of years if we go through a lot of these scenarios with which we're going to bring up. And the next one I'm going to bring up is definitely going to touch a lot of nerves, but it's one we have to talk about regardless. And that being the breaking news that apparently from Mike Silver, Derrick Henry has been shopped around along with a few other superstars, but Henry definitely standing out in front of Titans Nation, and Titans Twitter very much was upset. So, Rossi, starting with you, we've all had the discussions and we've all said Derrick Henry could potentially be a casualty in trade negotiations, especially for a team that may be looking to potentially rebuild. And as hard as that is to say, that could be the only way to get assets for the Titans to move forward. So your thoughts?
You got to look at too, like, what are you going to get in? I mean, the main thing is, what are you going to get in return for him? I mean, he's going to be 30 going in the next season. I mean, you're probably not going to get a first round pick for him. I mean, you would get a second, I would imagine, just because he's still a very productive player. He's still arguably, I mean, to me, he's still a top 2 running back in the league. I mean, it was him and Josh Jacobs in my eyes last season. I mean, you could throw Saquon in there, I guess, but I guess you could. Top 3. I think he's still a top 3 running back in this league, even going in the next season. How many more years does he have at that particular level? Then you got to look at how bad our offensive line was this past season. You know, what would he have done behind a good offensive line? But, you know, maybe a second you would get. I just don't know, man. I mean, if you're looking to do a total rebuild, then sure, clean house. Get rid of you know, Henry, get rid of Simmons, just, you know,
Get rid of Tannehill.
do the whole rebuild. Tannehill and everybody. But Rand told us in the offseason that that wasn't his plans. That's what he said. If you guys remember in his first interviews, you know, I believe, you know, we can win now type of thing. That's kind of his attitude. So, but, you know, these guys, they talk all the time. You know, Mike Vrabel told us last season A.J. Brown wasn't going anywhere, and look what happened. Now, you know, we've come to find out that J-Rob was kind of doing some shady stuff. But nonetheless, you know, so you got to take what these guys say with a grain of salt. When Rand Carthon is up there saying Tannehill's under contract, he's got to say that. He's got to say that. I believe right now, at this point in the offseason, where this team stands, anybody's expendable. And I hate to say that. I hate to say that because honestly, for me, look, I'm a fan. I don't want to be logical about it, personally. I want Derrick Henry in a Titans uniform. I think you get the best you can out of him for the next 2 or 3 years. I just don't see the return. If you're only going to get a second and like a fifth or something, there's no point of doing that for me. Now, if you could get a first out of him, maybe so. Maybe entertain it.
And I think that's out there. I think for a certain team that needs just another dynamic kind of player on their roster to help get them over that edge. Like, and I hate to say this, but it's true, a Buffalo, I mean, they'd more than likely give up a first-round pick.
He would be a monster behind Buffalo's offensive line.
Yeah, 100% he would.
But the most realistic trade I do see, and the only one I can really compare it to, would be back in 2004 when Corey Dillon got traded to the Patriots for a second-round pick.
Remember that?
So that, to me, I think is the most logical thing. I see you getting a second-round pick out of Derrick Henry. Like you said, Rossi, the mileage adds up. You know, I think they're going to take, you know, his last injury into consideration very heavily. But I think he's worth a second-rounder. But I also agree with you, you know, you can't take what everyone's saying at the table seriously. We knew Rand Carthon was going to play the politician and just kind of just woo and keep everybody calm. But let's be realistic. My whole premise is, don't tell me, show me. I want to see what you want to do. Don't tell me what you're going to do. So, Lee, realistically, what could we get for Derrick Henry if this moves forward?
Well, of course, I'm going to say this. So I put on a mock draft about a month ago. Titans fans tried to crucify me for it. And let me see if I can find this mock draft. Is this it? Here it is. So I traded Derrick Henry. I got a third for this year. This was from Miami. A fifth rounder 25 or 2024, a fourth rounder in 2025, and a fifth rounder in 2025.
And honestly, it's going to come down to whoever feels that he could be the key piece that's been missing in their offense. I mean, we can go through a slew of teams. The most realistic teams, I think, are going to try and make a move on Derrick Henry, are either ones with a lot of money or ones that are trying to make a deep playoff run.
And if you look at Miami, they have the offensive line for it. They have the wide receiving weapons. They have a mobile quarterback in Tua. Now all they need is that power back. That's what Derrick Henry is.
Yeah.
But do they have the assets that the Titans want?
They actually, since I've got over here, let me go.
How much is Derek counting against the cap?
It's like 6.2.
That's it?
Yeah.
What's the issue?
So
Keep the guy.
Miami does not pick until pick 52 in this year's draft.
That's right, because they had a pick vacated for
Tampering with Tom.
Tampering. Yep.
They have 5 picks this year, 5 picks next year, but they have 6, 7, 8 picks in 2025.
Yeah, but I think I want something now.
Well, he's counting. Okay, so his cap hit. No, it's 16 million. Dead cap 10 million.
And the Titans would save 6.
They would. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, like you said, Mike. I guess it just all depends on what you could get for him. You know, if some team is like, hey, we'll give you a first this year. I mean, it's a hard one to pass up. You know, I mean, but like Fox said, you know, Derrick Henry is different. He's built different. You know, he's not just typical running back, 30 years old, and, you know, is averaging, 3.2 yards a carry and can't do anything. I mean, he's a different type of back, you know. One thing I guess I could bring up too, Mike, is would we want to do, if we're not really going to be, if we're in a rebuild mode, or if we're not going to really completely fix the O-line this offseason and it's going to take a couple seasons, are we doing the man a disservice keeping him around? You know, let him go to a team that's got an awesome offensive line, let him, try and get a ring or something. I don't know. I mean, that's a thought too.
I mean, at the end of the day, the Titans are going to have to decide what they feel is best going forward. And unfortunately, one of the key components right now is Derrick Henry has worth. And they feel that it's enough to shop him around. And whatever deals have been kicked around are enough to be listened to. So we don't initially know what's been offered, if anything. We don't know who's been discussing anything other than, if James comes out with any kind of source for this, we'll make sure that you all know first. But as of this moment right now, we just know at this point there's just some shopping. Has numbers been kicked around? That's really the big question. But I think it's enough to gauge interest in order for them to say, yeah, we're shopping him.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
But, I mean, it's hard. We don't want to see our, franchise guys leave. It's just another running back that's gone. It's Eddie George, it's Chris Johnson, and then you add Derrick Henry potentially to this mix, and it's depressing, and it's understandable. Yeah. I have all 3 tattooed on my back, so believe me, it's depressing.
I mean, the thing about Eddie too, I've heard a lot of people make comparisons. Oh, we let Eddie go or whatever, but Eddie was also with us for how many seasons? I mean, what, 9
A
seasons or
long
something?
time.
You know, I mean, what's Derek been with? You know, he's been in what, the league 5 seasons now, something like that.
2015.
No, was it? Has he been in the league that long?
Is it
Maybe.
2015 or 2016?
Really? No, he hasn't been in the league that long, has he? Maybe he has. I don't
20,
think it. I gotta look this up because this is
2016.
he's been in the league that long. Wow, that's hard to believe. 7 years. So yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, I mean, Eddie was with us what, 9 or 10 years. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, he's been here that long, but that's wow. That's hard to believe, man. But I would hate to see him. I mean, imagine him on another team stiff arming one of our guys. How is that going to feel as a Titans fan?
Nauseating.
I don't know. That'd feel worse than the AJ Brown game. I mean,
oh, dude.
Let's just be honest.
And,
You'd feel that stiff arm too, just in your soul.
as you could tell, I'm in my feelings about this Henry thing. I shouldn't be, but I'm a fan at the end of the day, dude. I'm a diehard fan, and it's just hard for me to picture him being out of all. I mean, he's one of my all-time favorite Titans, you know. So be hard for me to see him go, but.
And as tough as that is, we've got another one we've got to talk about, and unfortunately, when it rains, it pours. So,
Wah, wah, wah.
Apparently, Jeff Simmons has basically unfollowed everybody on Instagram and disabled his Twitter account. He is in 0 dark 30. Gentlemen, the panic meter. What are we at? Rossi, I will start with you.
I mean, I don't think it's nothing to really panic about. I think that all these players are doing this nowadays. You know, you had I think one of the first I remember was Kyler Murray. You know, you got a lot of these guys. It's a tactic, I think, you know, and I was talking to James, our resident insider, and he was saying that, you know, he had heard that it was a tactic. I think that's basically just what it is at this point. Now, you know, if this turns into an AJ thing where it drags on and on and on and on, then I think we should start worrying. Right now, I think we kind of just need to chill out about it. I literally think it's just a negotiating tactic at this point. But it sucks that, you know, our number one player on defense, one of the best defensive tackles we've had in a decade. I mean, this dude is second to Aaron Donald, maybe just as good as Aaron Donald at this point. And it would, you know, I think if it came down to him and Henry, just hypothetically, say you had to either or, I would keep Simmons. As much as I love Henry, Simmons is 25 years old. He's got the best football ahead of him. I don't even know if he's played his best football yet, and that's scary. You know? So
agreed. And Lee, your thoughts?
I'm gonna play off what Rossi said. I don't think Jeff has played his best football yet. The key word right there is yet. I'm looking at what the average per year on interior defensive lineman is. Aaron Donald, on average, is making 31.7, basically 31.6, 31.7 million a year. Behind him is Leonard Williams at 21 million a year.
wow.
So Jeff is somewhere between Aaron Donald and Leonard Williams. But Rossi, what you were saying, he's not and in your mind, I agree with this. He's not played his best football yet. All you have to do is get that one missing piece on the edge to open that up.
Yep.
And you saw his sack numbers come down because we were without Harold Landry. But just wait till Harold Landry gets back out there and you have another dynamic piece on the edge on the opposite side of Harold Landry.
All right, Lee, I'm going to let you start first. Time to put on your GM hat. What are you paying Jeff Simmons to keep him in Titans two-tone blue?
So I think I've went through the numbers. I'm not sure if it was last week. I think it was. Or what? I'm not sure if it was on here or with Rossi. I said in the ballpark of 5 years, maybe 125 with 5 to 7 or 3 to 5 in incentives. And yes, Titan Fox making it, and it'd be a bigger signing bonus than anything. So, as I said, 5 years, about 125 with 3 to 5 incentive based pay, which would put you at around 27, 28 on the low end.
Mm-hmm.
And then guaranteed, I'd probably put it about 60, 65 on guaranteed.
And that's solid numbers. I think that basically get him in the ballpark that he's going to be one of the higher paid defensive tackles in the league.
Right behind Aaron Donald.
Which, if Donald retires this season, which he still could, then he would be the highest paid.
That'd make Jeff the highest paid interior defensive lineman in the NFL per year.
And to finish this out, guys, and I know we don't want to think too much about it. It's basically, as we said, we all kind of feel that it's the same ballpark kind of game. He's just playing hardball. You know, listen to your agent. He's going to do you more good than harm. But just for the fun of it, and Rossi, I'll start with you. What do you think Jeffrey Simmons' trade value is if the Titans move on that?
I mean, I think it's definitely a first round pick. I mean, how could it not be? I mean, the guy is an absolute game wrecker and a beast. I don't know. I would say at least a couple picks, you know, a first and I don't know, a fourth or a third or something like that, you know, or a first this year and a second next year or something. I just think that I don't see how it could not be. I really don't. Now, I don't know how much the contract thing plays into that, because if you got a team that's going to trade for him, obviously they're going to have to extend him. So how does that play into it? You know, does that, like, I'm not a big contract guy. I don't know much about, you know, that type of stuff. But if another team has to extend them, are they going to give up a first? I mean, then, you know, if that changes, you know, you might be not probably give up a third or a fourth, you know.
Well, let's try and keep it like vanilla. Let's just say the Bears have interest, they have the money to pay him, and they've got the assets to trade him. So, do you think he's worth just a player and a pick trade, or do you think there would have to be more to make that kind of move?
I think there would have to be more draft picks. I mean, I think there would have to be a couple picks, whether it's a first and a fifth or something, you know. Now it depends on the player, of course. You know, if you get a pretty good player out of the deal, then yeah, but I just think you'd have to have a couple picks, you know, for me to accept it. Good picks.
And Lee, will finish with you.
So while Ross was talking, I pulled up PFF on the monitor. So I put in Jeff. I put in, this is from Tennessee. I put in 41, which is our second rounder this year, and our second round pick next year. And I was like, I'm just going to check Tampa Bay there at 19. I got 19, 50, and 82, which is Tampa Bay's first, second, and third round picks this year.
Yeah, I always wonder about those trade things on those simulators, though. Like how I feel like they're a little giving, though. You know, I don't know.
In some instances, they seem like they can be very giving at times.
Yeah. So that would be great, though, Lee. I mean, I would
because you would have your first, then you would have 8 picks later. You get Tampa Bay's first. You get 41, and then you get Tampa Bay's pick at 50. You would have your pick at 72, and then Tampa Bay's pick at 82.
And
Tampa Bay's GM.
Something?
Go ahead,
Mike, real quick too. And I this is a random thought. I'm sorry. I don't know if you're going to talk about it or not. I just want to put it out there. I do not want DeAndre Hopkins. I know that might sound crazy. I don't want him. I want somebody young. I want somebody out of the draft or something like that. I'm tired of bringing in older wide receivers. Now, you know, is Hopkins, obviously Hopkins not on the same level as Julio, probably as far as where Julio was in his career. I'm just tired of bringing in these older guys. Like, you know, I don't know. I don't want Hopkins. I hope we don't give up something stupid for Hopkins if that does happen. I don't think we would, but I just hope we've kind of learned our lesson from, you know, past mistakes.
Well, Rossi, that's why you're the bad boy of Twitter. So I appreciate you for bringing up that point because
I just had to get it off my chest.
He had to get it off his chest, and I'm glad somebody got it off his chest because I'm with you. I'm tired of just bringing in, you know, used receivers that are well past their prime, and DeAndre Hopkins just doesn't fit what the Titans are probably trying to do long term.
No,
you know, it's comforting. It's comforting to have a GM in place that wants to build the right way. And you look at his line of work that he's been involved in with the success of the teams that have had his impact that they built through the draft.
And as Vrabel said, he even said this. He wants to get younger and he wants to get faster.
DeAndre Hopkins is not one of those things.
Is he nasty? Yes. But is he young and fast? No.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he wasn't very nasty last year.
Yeah, because he missed, like the first 6 games of the year?
On a PED suspension, I might add.
Yep.
So, not really what you're looking for, especially for a locker room culture. So, I would have to say the Titans are best suited to just hit the draft and just continue to build the proper way. If you're going to build young, build fast, and build with assets. And if Tennessee has some depreciating assets they're trying to ship off, doesn't hurt to let people just shop around. You know,
right.
You don't have to buy, but there's always a lot of great offers to listen to.
Yep.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick 30-second break. When we come back, we'll break down a few players that we think will make some moves in free agency. We'll get to that real quick, so we will be back in 30 seconds. The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and with my co-host, Lee Hillis from the 615 podcast. It's a mouthful, but I'm going to get it out because I'm good, damn it. That's what I do. Thank you for joining us on this Monday evening and joining us as well, our good friend Titan Rossi from the Titan Upload Network. And yes, all three of us are represented by the Titan Upload Network. It is what we love to do. It is what we represent. And we want to represent you, the fans, and give you the best fan experience and give you all the Titans and NFL experience that you can handle. Because we're coming. We're coming for that number one spot. And definitely we got to give a shout out to Rossi, who's been working like heck to get everything out there on the brand new minted Titan Upload Network on YouTube. So much going on. Rossi, of course, we got a lot more people in here. Want to make sure that you shout out to everybody and let them know you got a big show coming up this Wednesday. You got to let them know where to find it.
Yeah, definitely on our Titan Upload Network YouTube page. Just if you haven't subscribed yet, just Google or go to YouTube and type in the Titan Upload Network, and it'll take you right there. We'll be having a live show with Corey Curtis there Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be a fantastic show. I'll be working on it, most of the day tomorrow, probably Wednesday. Get everything set up to have a good show with him. And we have been rocking, dude. I mean, we've been posting videos every day. Lee Hillis here. He's part of the Titan Upload Network, of course. Michael. We got Draft Brian. We got our resident insider James. We got who else am I missing? Obviously
Ryan.
Titan Upload. And I'm missing somebody else.
Ryan
Harris. So we got our podcast guy too. And we got a few couple that we're working on that we've put feelers out to, so we might be adding some too, but we're excited about this thing. I know you guys are too. And we're going to keep it rolling. I think you're muted there.
See, I'm going to be glad when I get my new system set in because this mic's about to get thrown. Y'all going to see a Jerry Springer moment. I'm going to throw this mic, but, I'm going to keep it together because I'm professional like that. So, as always, thank you for your support. Thank you for continuing to watch the Titan Upload Network. As Rossi said, we're putting out daily content for you, the fans, so you have all the NFL and Titans news you can handle. You're going to have to shake a stick at it to get rid of it because we're going to continue to go and give you what you want, folks. We're here for you, to entertain you, to get you the best experience out there. The Titan Upload Network, keep it real, keep it raw, keep it right. All right, Lee. You definitely had a few ideas with what we should be doing in some new faces and new places, so let's break it down in our evening debate. And to start out, once again, we've been bringing in new faces and new places. It's one of our new favorite segments. So, Lee, start it out. Who do you think is going to be doing some moving around?
Well, of course, Connor McGovern, of course, who is a center. You have him going to Houston. I'm going to go NFC South. I'm going to go Carolina. Why? They have a very good opportunity to get a young quarterback. You need to build that interior offensive line around someone like a Connor McGovern who's a veteran piece that could help that offensive line grow.
And Rossi, I'll let you jump in on this one as well. I mean, McGovern definitely going to be a very popular center when free agency starts. So Titans could be in the market for a center if they need to, but Ben Jones hasn't really made a formal commitment or even a retirement announcement. So your thoughts? I
really like McGovern, man. I mean, I think he'd be awesome to have in a Titans uniform, Obviously, if Ben Jones comes back, I'm all about Ben Jones. I mean, I think he's still is a really good center. I think he's, I would say he's in the top 10 of centers in the league, even at his age now. I mean, he's tough. I don't recall Ben Jones giving up a lot of sacks, I mean, he was one of the bright spots, and I think, I hope he comes back. But if not, I'm all down for a guy like McGovern.
And I thought about it. I generally try and just give a fair advantage of what teams really need help the most. And the Texans losing their center this year to retirement, I think McGovern's just a good fit. They'll have the money, they'll have everything they need to bring him in. So I go with Houston on this one. I think he's a good fit for their system. Moving on to our next player. Andre Dillard is definitely a player that we've all been paying close attention to, especially last year. Especially in what could have been potential trade talks between the Titans and the Eagles, but unfortunately never made anything fluid or even became just a thought at that point, which was nothing more. So I go with the Steelers shield here because eventually they're not going to have enough assets to move up. They need to draft a tackle, but realistically, do they want to wait till the second round? Or do they feel that they could just go out in free agency and get probably one of the most underrated tackles on the market? But Lee, your thoughts?
I have him coming to Tennessee. Me and everybody else, we were pounding the table for this dude in Tennessee at the trade deadline. As you said, he's underrated. He still has a lot to prove, but he's on the end of what we want. He's on the younger end. Is he huge? Yes. Could he be a vital piece right now for the Titans? Most certainly.
And Rossi, I'll let you give your thoughts.
What is the deal with him though? Like why was he not starting this past season for them? Was he wasn't hurt this past season, was he?
He wasn't, but they started playing him at guard because they have Jordan Mailata at left tackle.
Okay.
But I know he had been battling injuries.
Yeah, I know he had some injuries like 2021-22 type of thing. Yeah, I mean, obviously anybody is better than Dennis Dudley Daly at this point.
Dennis Dud Daly.
So, I mean, yeah, I'm all down for a guy like this. I mean, he would be probably a great fit with the Steelers too, but I just feel like anybody's better than Daly, and if you could get him at a good price, then yeah, I mean, if they're not going to ask an arm and a leg, left tackles make a lot of money. Good ones do, and they ask a pretty penny for them. So, if we're not getting somebody with our 11th pick, then yeah, I mean, personally, I want Paris Johnson. If we stay at 11, if Johnson falls to 11, it's a no-brainer for me. But that's a whole another show.
Believe me, we're going to have plenty of shows to cover the draft. So
yeah,
we got a lot of free agency coming up in the next couple of weeks. So
yeah,
it just seemed like we had to shake a few of these loose. So we'll call them the bargain bin players.
6 days until free agency starts, technically.
And Lee, I'll let you talk about Dalton.
Well, there's a name that I don't think you have unless he's after this. I also have Kelvin Beachum on here.
I don't think I got him yet.
I have him going to the New York Giants. The tackle from Arizona. But Reisner, I have him going to Pittsburgh. Could he be a nice piece to put in front of Kenny Pickett? Yes. Veteran leadership is very important on the offensive line.
And a good selection there. I just think, especially with Geno Smith signing a 3-year deal, I have to keep him protected. And Reisner, to me, I think is the guy you're going to go out and sign to make sure your quarterback's protected. And Rossi, I'll let you give your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I like Reisner. I mean, he's not. It's. I think, in a sense, the jury's still kind of out on him. I mean, he's not been amazing. He's not been terrible, but he's been a very capable starter. He is a good player. I think he's somebody that definitely, is still getting better or whatever. And I like a guy like Reisner. I don't know where else he would fit or whatever. I'm sure there's a lot of teams out there that need a good, capable guard. And, if we're not bringing back Nate Davis, there you go.
And another great point. Reisner will definitely be one of the favorite guards that's not named Ben Powers that's going to get a lot of attention this free agent.
We might need 2 guards. So.
Ooh, it's giving me chills thinking about too many offensive lineman needs. But hey, let's talk about some wide receivers. DJ Chark is definitely going to be an interesting scenario right here. So, Lee, I've got him going to the Bears because the Bears got that money.
And I'm going to say this, in the words of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend.
There you go. Just taking my lines.
I have him go to Baltimore. They have a quarterback, but they don't have the speedy offensive weapons that he needs outside of Mark Andrews. Could this be a big help for a quarterback, whoever it is, if it's Lamar or if it's someone that they trade for? This could be a huge help.
And Rossi, I mean, for the Titans, this could be a pretty cheap pickup. I mean, Shark just needs a good system to fit in, and they're not asking him to be a 1.
Yeah, I mean, he might be a good, number 2 type of guy. Is that the
3.
position he usually plays? He plays the X or Y. I mean, he's not a slot guy, is he?
No, he's not. I don't think he's a slot. I think he's more of a wide receiver.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I've seen him. I remember him from Jacksonville, and I know he had some pretty good seasons there. I know he was with the Lions last season. I think he'd be a pretty good pickup for us. I mean, I think somebody's going to overpay him, though. And I don't think the Titans are looking to overpay somebody like him, considering where they're at with everything. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, does Chark end up like, what's his name from Arizona, where, they give him all types of money, which it kind of worked out in Jacksonville. But
Christian Kirk.
Yeah, I don't see Chark being like that, though. But I like Chark. He'd be a good number 2.
And Fox brought up that Chark was 2 in Jacksonville, so
yeah,
I can't remember where they lined him up either. I haven't really watched a lot of film on him, so. But getting on to our next one, and to quote my favorite quote, Kyle Fuller ended up going to the Ravens last year, but unfortunately due to an injury early in the season, completely derailed whatever the Ravens were going to do with him. So my whole thought process is the Bengals are definitely going to have to find a ready and available replacement for Bates, as he's going to be shipped off in free agency. So why not the Bengals in my take? See a need, fill a need. That's all I got there. Lee, I'll let you take it from there.
I have Kyle Fuller going to the ATL. Could he be a nice piece for us, an Arthur Smith-led team on defense? Yes. But it's depending on who's the defensive coordinator.
Who did Atlanta hire? If anybody in the chat knows that, who's Atlanta's defensive coordinator now?
But I did have one more wide receiver on here. Mac Hollins.
He's here. I promise you, he's here. I had to move. I had to move slides. Don't run it past me.
But I have Kyle Fuller going to Atlanta. I feel like he could be a vital piece to a young defense, a veteran piece to a young defense.
And Rossi representing the Titans for the shopping free agent splurge. Is that a yay or a nay on your end?
Nah.
Yeah.
Nay.
That's why he's the best in the business on Twitter. He just gets to the point. I love it.
I don't know. He might be all right. I don't know. We do need a cornerback. We can't. I mean,
Yes.
it's hard to rely on Fulton. It's kind of sucks, that he's hurt all the time, but we do need a cornerback for the other side as well. So, I mean, he might be somebody good here. He's been in the league a long time, so kind of a savvy vet. I don't know.
Kyle Fuller's definitely going to be an interesting free agent, to say the least. Now, Lee, now you can talk about Matt Collins.
I do have him staying in the AFC, but not going AFC North, going AFC South. I have him in Tennessee.
Woo!
He could be the replacement to NWI. He could be like that Hunter Renfrow piece for Tennessee. Go back to week 3 and look what Matt Collins did to Tennessee.
And now I'm going to show you how to really do it. Not so fast, my friend. Matt Collins has been the bridesmaid and never the bride. And I'm going to put him somewhere where he's going to shine. I'm going to give Lamar Jackson a reason to rethink his situation in Baltimore. To give him a wide receiver that hasn't had the stage to shine on because he's always bounced around, been the journeyman. Well, I find a home in Baltimore for Matt Collins. The kid balls. And that's all there is to it. Rossi, I shall let you finish on the Tennessee Titans shopping end.
Matt Collins with us, I don't know. I'm not as big on Matt Collins. I mean, he had the huge game against us, but he didn't really do much other than that. I mean, for the rest of the season, from what I saw, I mean, he might have had a decent game here and there, but he killed us that game. Good Lord. But I don't know, man. I'm not big on him. I mean, if he's like a 4 or something, or a 3 maybe, but not as a 2 for me personally. But
Well, I just think ever since Philadelphia, where he actually shined on that stage, he's just never really found a true place to call home. And I would have to go to Baltimore in my instance, but I think I'm being overweighted by the jury, so I guess if Tennessee's taking him, I'll just grin and bear it. And we get to Lee's pick, and of course, talking about corner depth, it's just something the Tennessee Titans severely are lacking of and need that, especially to be addressed. So, Lee, take it here with Sean Murphy Bunting, as I see him very underrated.
And that's why I put him on the list. I feel like Sean Murphy Bunting could be could end up being that player that plays across from a Christian Fulton. And you could take someone like Roger McCreary, Elijah Molden, move him back into there in the slot or the nickel corner. Play them inside, put Sean Murphy Bunting as your number 2 or even your number 1.
mm-hmm.
Rossi, I'll let you get your shot in.
Yeah, I love the guy, man. I've seen him play a few times. I really like him, dude. I'm on board with Lee there. I think he's a guy you come in, coach up, dude. I mean, you got a potential starter on your hands and a guy like that, or a very serviceable player nonetheless, if not a starter. I mean, he's a guy you can plug in. I like him a lot.
And I get excited with a guy like this because I already know Chris Harris, the new defensive backs coach, is going to help a kid shine that has this kind of raw talent.
Yeah.
And he played well for the Bucks. You got to remember the Super Bowl he played in. He caused some trouble.
And
unfortunately,
didn't he shut down Tyreek, or was that their number 2?
that was there too. That was Winfield. But unfortunately, he's just fallen out of favor on the depth chart, so he's expendable at this point. So Chris Harris, getting a kid like this with this much raw talent, he likes molding these kids into something special. And I think he would be something special if the Titans pull the trigger. And he doesn't necessarily have to come in and start. Depth is important. And if they can find somebody that can rotate out, this kid could actually help a secondary that had been just depleted for most of the year. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick 30-second break, and when we come back, we got to close up shop. But hey, that's just how it goes. We have this much fun, but at the end of the day, we got to send you back out into the world. But it'll be all right. We'll get a little bit of talking in before we send you out, and of course, give you a little good insight. I'm Michael Bishop with the Power Hour, and we'll be back in 30 seconds. The Power Hours on the air, live streaming to you on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and thank you for joining us on this Monday evening. Joining us tonight, my co-hosts, Lee Hillis of the 615 Podcast, and of course, the infamous Titans Rossi, the terror of Twitter, just tearing down walls and giving people all the business. But we love Rossi on the show, and we love him on the Titan Upload Network, and you should too. And of course, before you go, help the show grow. Follow us on the Titan Upload Network. Make sure you punch that like button. And of course, as always, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And make sure you share the show because sharing's caring. And if you love us, you'll share. And before we get to our final segment, Lee, of course, we know you got a few things planned as well of being our newest member of the Titan Upload Network. So, Lee Hillis, what is the 411 in the 615 podcast?
Well, of course, as a member of the network, Rossi, of course, mentioned it earlier. The next video from me on the network will drop Wednesday, I think. And it's talking about who is Tim Kelly. So keep your eye out for that. Of course, draft content will be coming back starting at the beginning of April. And the first episode will actually drop April 3rd.
Nice.
Lee Hillis giving us all the good stuff, and it's going to be coming out soon to you this week. So make sure you keep coming back to the Titan Upload Network. We're going to get you that good content. We're your fixer-upper. That's what we do. That's what we're going to continue to do. We got that good stuff. All right, guys. As much fun as we've had, we got to close up shop, but we'll give you some good insight before we send you back out in the world. So let's break it down with our favorite segment, Closing Time.
Good night, losers.
And of course, a very interesting story throughout the week. Jerome Boger has officially announced his retirement, and to the many, many disappointed fans out there of his, I know you're just heartbroken. He will be somewhat missed. But there's quite a problem going on that's not being discussed. And as it seems, 4 main officials have retired this year, and a grand total of 10 officials on an officiating crew have officially retired. And now the NFL is scrambling to find replacements there. So, Rossi, I'll start with you. Is the NFL having an official problem?
Oh my
I mean,
God, they've had an official problem for the last 5 years.
I mean, besides the other ones that we know about and the calls and everything, I just mean finding officials in general.
yeah. I mean, that's been an issue, but yeah, I mean, especially now, and I mean, the bad ones are retiring, and you're gonna bring in some more bad ones, I guess. But I mean, I guess not all of them were bad. I mean, I know Bolger's got a history with a lot of fan bases, and he has not made a lot of friends. And I think the NFL needs to overhaul the whole damn system, in my opinion. And I don't know if they need to, put these guys on salary or I don't know. They need to do something to fix this debauchery that's been of last season and the season before, because it's getting to the point where it's absolutely ridiculous and it's hurting the game. I have very strong feelings about it, and not just because of the Titans, because of many games that I've seen where it's just like you can't even watch a game without questioning what the hell's going on. Is it rigged? Is it this? Is it that? Is it, and it feels like back in the day, back in the 90s, the early 2000s and whatnot, you could watch a game and not question anything really. I mean, you get mad at the calls, but you didn't have all this going on like you did now. I'm done.
I'm glad Rossi didn't have a 240 character limit because he well went over that.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's why we love you here, Rossi. But of course, Lee, I got to let you get your shot in too, because I mean, if the officials are going, we got to make sure that we're letting them know that they're going.
And I just got 5 simple words. Good riddance to Jerome Boker.
Poor guy.
It's hard to be an official, especially when no one loves you, but at the same time, it doesn't make it any easier the fact that you blew quite a few calls, especially with many different fan bases. The Tennessee Titans being one of your many victims. So let's just call it for what it is. I hate to see you go, but I'm not really that mad. I love to watch you leave. But I'm not really that mad about it.
Right.
And of course, guys, we got to finish everything off. Lee Hillis has an amazing mind, and it is always taken away. Lee, you always get the final thought on the show, and here it is. That beautiful face. Give us what you got.
Of course, I want to start this off by saying thank you to everyone who reached out last week. As we went through a pretty tough time as our family, personally. We laid my grandfather to rest on Saturday, which it was a hard week last week, but transition away from that into something happier. My top 5 players to keep an eye on going forward. This is from the Combine this last weekend. You have to look at running back Devon Achane from Texas A&M. Dude ran a 4.23 40. The fastest running back 40 time of this last weekend. Player number 2, Jacob Copeland from Maryland. 4.42 40. And of course, going to the defense side, Dayon Henley, linebacker from Washington State, 4.54. Arkansas linebacker Drew Sanders did not run the 40, but dude is a giant. He is 6'5". Weighs like 239 as a linebacker. And the last player that I'm going to tell you how to keep an eye on, tight end Darnell Washington out of Georgia. Yeah, he ran a 4.65 40, but think about this. Chigakonkwo, 4.52 40 in 2022 at the Combine. So remember those players: Devon Achane, Jacob Copeland, Dayon Henley, Drew Sanders, and Darnell Washington are players to keep an eye on going forward.
And Rossi, I mean, for a combine show, we didn't talk a lot of combine, but damn it, we squeezed some combine in there.
That's right.
Any player that stood out to you during the combine that you felt deserves a shout out?
I mean, I don't hate to state the obvious, but I was really impressed with Paris Johnson and his footwork and just the way he's built. He just looks like just one of those type of guys who, you know, I've heard some people saying he could be a bust or whatever, but I think he's just, I mean, he's on that level of athleticism that, you know, Luan was, you know, back then in 2014. And he's a guy that I just really like. And a lot of people were disappointed with Jalen Hyatt. I wasn't really disappointed with him. I thought he did very well. I mean, he had an injury going on. I mean, the guy was still like first in, you know, one of the jumping I can't remember, his long jump or whatever, second and something else. I mean, he was, as far as collectively and all his stuff, he was ranked up there in the top 1 or 2. So he's somebody that I still like a lot. And the Darnell Washington guy really stood out to me, Lee. I mean, that dude, I think he's going to be a heck of a player in the league.
For a 6'7" tight end.
Yeah.
So he's moving at 4'6'5".
Yeah. Yeah. Fox brings up DeJuan Jones. I think was his name, DeJuan Jones. He's a guy too, you know, it's really impressive. So a lot of impressive players. Jamar Gibbs impressed me a lot too.
Out of Alabama.
Yeah.
Another
Josh Downs.
Another name,
a wide receiver.
Another name, Rossi, that we could mention, Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
Yeah. He definitely is a polarizing player. Accuracy, I don't know.
A sub 4.540, faster than Cam Newton and Tim Tebow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some talented players, man, and those big guys, good Lord, they're getting faster and faster. You know, it's amazing how every year they seem to just raise the bar. And so
they might have raised the bar for Bryce Young because I'm a little worried about him.
Yeah.
Or at least get him a booster seat. I'm just
at like 5'10".
But the guy from Tennessee, the edge guy, what's his name?
Byron
Young. He was amazing at the combine.
He was.
I mean,
of course, we were supposed to talk Bryce Young tonight also. I'm going to mention this about Bryce Young. Everybody said that.
Good one,
that's good.
Everyone said, and there's two names I want to mention: Russell Wilson and Drew Brees. Both of those guys are 6-foot quarterbacks. Or in the ballpark of 6 foot. They said people said that both those guys would never amount to nothing. Look at Russell Wilson. 2 NFC championship appearances, 2 Super Bowl appearances, and a Super Bowl title. Drew Brees has multiple NFC championship appearances. He's got a Super Bowl appearance and a Super Bowl title.
They had meat on their bones, though, when they got drafted.
True.
I mean, Bryce Young, I've had wet towels that weighed more than him.
But still, you got to look at players who were in the league now that everybody slept on.
Well, they slept on him, but like I said, Russell Wilson had meat on his bones. You know, Bryce Young's like an anorexic chicken. And I'm not trying to knock him. I'm just worried about the kid. Just Please put some meat on your bones, man. I don't care. Go to Chipotle.
Yeah.
Go
Well,
to like.
That's
Go to Crumble Cookie. I don't care. Put
Big
some
Mac,
meat on your bones.
Big Macs.
that's what NFL, the dietary nutrition. That's their for.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to like get more nutrition in him. Let's just be honest.
Well, he said he put on a bunch of weight or something, but you know,
He don't look.
I think he.
I don't know where he put it.
Yeah, they said he was at like 204 or something, but I think it's just like a boxer. He probably just shoved a bunch of food in, and it's probably not healthy.
I'll donate weight to him if he wants weight. I'll go throw weight at him.
Yeah,
I have more than enough fat to like go donate. So
yeah.
But in all seriousness, I think Bryce Young will be a great quarterback in the right system. But like I said, go eat something. You got me talking like mom over here.
Go
get some meat on your bones.
Yep.
Leave him with a laugh. All right, guys. So glad that you joined us tonight on the show. Thank you so much. Fantastic show from everybody. And of course, we are members of the Titan Upload Network, and you can follow us on all our channels on YouTube as well. And don't forget about our Facebook page. We've got all the content you're looking for, whether it be on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, Twitch, or TikTok. Believe me, we're getting it to you one way or the other. Shout out to everybody for joining us in the chat as well. You guys are fantastic, bringing out good comments. Round of applause for you as well. You're the reason why we keep coming back and doing this, because you guys give us that motivation. You give us the drive that we need to continue to make the Titan Upload Network a success. So, of course, before we go, got to let our guests get their last shot in. Rossi, anything you want to leave the audience with before we close up shop?
Just thanks for all the support. We appreciate it. Yeah, TA, I'm trying to, man. It's been a long day. I'd have to say I am a little tired there. So you got me on that one. But no, man, I appreciate all the support, man, for every channel on our network. It's been a great ride. These past couple years doing YouTube and everything else, a lot of fun. Made a lot of friends, and thank you guys for all your support.
Told your mom was going to jump in. Feed that baby.
Feed that
baby. Lee, let's get your shot in too as well, man.
Yeah. So this is only the second show I've done on the network. Man, it's going to be a wild ride.
I mean, we're already off running on a pretty wild ride, so it's only going to get crazier from here. You don't know what you got yourself into.
As if my schedule doing just podcast stuff was not crazy enough.
Right.
Yeah, we're putting a whole new dynamic on this, man. So
yeah,
y'all best buckle up, because we're bringing the heavy stuff once the draft starts. So just be ready. But as always, guys, thank you so much for supporting the Titan Upload Network and, of course, all of our individual platforms. We're going to continue doing this for you and giving you the best Titans and NFL experience that we can give. And remember, we're going to give you that daily content too. And it's free. What more do you want from us? Just go and subscribe and like and share with your friends. We're not asking much. Just put the effort in. We're putting the effort in. It's give and take on both ends. We're not mad, but we just want to make sure that you know that. But as always, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll be back next Monday with another great show for you. Rossi will be on Wednesday night with a Rossi Report with, of course, the special guest, Corey Curtis. So make sure you check that out as well. And Lee Hillis will be dropping a new podcast for you. Keep your ears to the wall. I promise you're going to enjoy it. And as always, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Michael Bishop of the Power Hour with my co-host Lee Hillis of the 615 podcast. I'm going to get that right, damn it, I promise. But as always, take care and tighten up.
Tighten up.
Thank you for watching this live presentation of the Titan Upload Network.